Welcome to David and David on Real Estate. Join us as we explore the ins and outs of the real estate market.
Good morning and welcome to the David and David on Real Estate podcast. We are today with Jonathan Hacohen instead of David Korman, and we are on episode number 69. We're getting up there.
Good job.
And today we're talking about lead gen. Jonathan, thanks for filling in. Such big shoes to fill in, and it's good to have you back on the podcast.
My pleasure. I think David Corman and I are actually the same shoe size, if I'm not mistaken, but he's right now wearing flip-flops on the beach, and I'm shoveling snow here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada with you. So let's do it. We're going to talk about an exciting topic today and how to generate leads and how to get more business.
And I think it's very timely, Jonathan, because agents are struggling out there. It is tough. The market has slowed down a little bit. We're seeing less transactions come through. So I think everybody kind of needs to be reminded about going back to the basics and doing the things that got them busy in the first place. When you have momentum, it's so much easier to keep riding that momentum. But when you don't have momentum, what are some of those things that everybody should be doing to really, kick-start that fire, to really light in underneath them and to really propel them forward?
Well, I racked my brain on this one because I know I love marketing and I love the idea of generating business and how to grow a business. And one thing I tell realtors out there, when times are good, everybody's successful, right? Deals are just plopping in your lap. You got to do nothing. You just got to, no conditions, 200,000 over asking, and I'm the best agent ever. When it starts to slow down, all of a sudden they're like starting to doubt themselves a bit. They're saying, did I get in the right business? I'm not getting any leads. What's going on here? And what I tell those agents, especially the newbies, is the good ones are still busy, believe it or not. Especially in a down market, they know how to get the business. So what they're doing is they're taking a bigger share of the pie because they know how to get those leads, whereas you're just waiting by the phone and waiting for the phone to ring and it ain't ringing.
You're complaining, right? You're complaining, you're stuck in the negative mindset, you're watching the news, and you're letting that news affect your mental ability. And look, I saw David Goggins over the reality event the last couple of days, and it was really incredible. And he talked about his mind being like a garage, right? And if the garage is full, if there's no space in your mind, then how are you able to go out there and make space and bring in the right mindset for you to be able to go out there and generate business? It's very hard to do when you're when you have a cluttered garage, as he put it.
I can tell you many people, and this doesn't just go for realtors. This is for any line of work of any kind, which involves sales, marketing. If you're going to leave your front door in the morning and you say to yourself, I am defeated, I'm a failure, I have no chance, no one's going to want to buy from me, I'm not very good, and I don't feel very good about this, that energy is going to show to the world and no one is going to have confidence in you and you ain't going to sell anything. Yeah. If you leave that front door and you say, I am the best, nobody can stop me, I got this, I believe in me, and I'm going to go and be my best me, you are going to sell and you are going to get business. So it all begins with your attitude. You know where I learned it actually, David, believe it or not?
Where'd you learn it?
Working at a parking garage.
A parking garage?
I had a job as a summer student working at the parking garage. And what happened was there were 3 buildings that shared the parking complex. Mm-hmm. My job was every time somebody came in, came out, I had to mark down on my checklist as far as which building they were parking for, so we can make sure how much each building is using up the parking.
Right.
Exhilarating job, I know, sounds so riveting. I built up my legal knowledge and career, right? But what I noticed was the people in the morning coming to work. And my favorite were the ones, that they had the cigarette and they had the coffee and they're able to drink the coffee and do the smoke. I don't know how they did it, right? But they're literally able to smoke and drink at the same time. And they had this nervous look on their face and they're just like, they're already defeated going into the office. Versus the ones that come in confident, ready to go. I said, those are the ones that are going to go conquer the world today. And I don't know them for whatever, but I can just read their energy. And we're going to talk a little bit today about marketing. But marketing goes into everything. I'll give a little sneak preview. It's how you make up, you're groomed, what you're wearing, what your accessories are, what your smile on your face, what you're saying. It all fits into the package. And what package do you want to send to the world?
Yeah, David Goggins, said the same thing, very similar. He said, hey, when I wake up in the morning, I look in the mirror, and the first thing I say to myself each and every single morning is, don't be a bitch today. Don't be a bitch, and don't be afraid. Go out there and kill it, and don't be a bitch, right? And of course, he didn't mean it as a male or female thing. He meant it, as what his mentality is, right? And he, from day one, from the first minute he wakes up, he wants to have the right mindset, the right attitude. And it was incredible. I actually got to do a meet and greet with him, and I asked him a question. In his book, he goes through Army Ranger services twice. The first time he fails because he didn't do a reconnaissance thing correctly, and he actually got to the wrong part of the trail. So they failed him, and he did it again. And the second time he was going through it, his timing was better. He felt great, very confident. He was doing a great pace. He left everybody behind. And then out of nowhere, somebody just lapped him, just completely out of anywhere. And then before David Goggins knew it, that person was gone, right? And David Goggins said, the guy was so fast, he was out of here. And I thought to myself, when I pass the next corner, I'm gonna catch up to him. Nope. When I pass the next hill, I'm gonna see him. Nope. The next checkpoint, I'm gonna see him. Nope. The guy was just gone. So I asked David Goggins, I'm like, what happened to this person? Did you ever find out, who it was? And did you ever get to talk to them? You know what he says to me? He's like, yep, I know exactly who it is. And next time I went to do the course, I killed his time.
Interesting.
And it's that winner's mentality. This guy couldn't stand that somebody lapped him, that somebody was faster. He had to go out there and do this crazy course again because he had to prove to himself that, he can beat that crazy time where somebody was just past him and gone, right? That's what winners do. That's the ultimate mentality. And we're talking like less than 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the population. But even for me, when I asked the question initially, I didn't get his response. But then I went and I thought about it. I'm like, wow, he didn't say. The way he answered my question was like, yep, I know exactly who it is, and I beat that time. I went out there and I beat him. And it's just incredible.
If I had to guess with David Goggins, because we talked a little bit about this off camera, and I've watched his videos, I have skimmed through the books. I've been mentioned his name a few times by different gurus in this kind of genre. And I'm going to give you now a number that I came up with in my mind. But let's say you take 100 people and you put them before David Goggins and listen to the story, right? 90, I think, are going to go run away crying, screaming, like, I can't do this. No chance. This guy's intimidating me. This is not for me whatsoever. I'm happy just living my whatever life, and no thank you. I think 9 may agree to follow or try to follow partial what he's saying and kind of be like a disciple and saying, you know what, this guy can motivate me to be a better me. And I think maybe one person, if that, will even come up and say, you know what, I hear what he's saying. I don't think there's any difference between me and David Goggins. He's a human being just like I am. He works hard and determination. And I'm going to tell you that when I see David Goggins, I feel like I'm that one person because he motivates me to be David Goggins or be beyond that. Because I see him. I don't see that there's any difference with him and any other human being, except for the fact this man will not give up. That's what separates David Goggins from everything else. Everything he's ever tried. If you listen to his story, I think it's remarkable. But it comes down to he will not take no for an answer. He doesn't care if his legs are busted, his feet are busted, he's pouring out blood. You will not stop the man. And I love that. And that motivates me.
Like he talked about his second book coming out. So he has a second book that's written, and he kind of basically gave everybody a little bit of a preview of what it's going to be about. And the book peels back more layers. So he goes in deeper into the mental anguish and kind of how he deals with it on the different levels of how, certain things are happening to him. And I think that's going to be very interesting, because I think on the surface, when you read his book and you're like, oh yeah, he spent 18 months in SEAL training and he did it 3 times, because usually it's only 6 months that you have to go through it, right? But being in that crazy cold environment for 18 months and subduing your body to like these extreme things over such a prolonged period of time, I could probably do it for like half an hour, 2 hours, right? But nobody really knows how far you can push yourself until you get into that situation, right? I think you need to actually feel that pain to know if that pain motivates you or scares you.
But
And
now,
until
Matt,
you feel it, you won't know. And talking about it is not enough.
but take David Goggins then. When he takes everything, all of his experiences, right? I think you and I can agree he can go do almost anything now that he wants to do, and he will be successful at
Physical,
it.
absolutely.
If he says, I've gone through all of this physically, which, everybody thinks about the physical stuff, but the physical stuff is really mental stuff at the end of the day. It's being able to push past the pain and push past your limitations. He's done that. If he decided, I'm going to be a realtor today and I'm going to generate business, he's going to blow everybody out of the water. He's going to be the top
100%.
realtor without a doubt, because he's going to take those same principles. So somebody, for example, that says, why are you talking about David Goggins and lead generation? Go read David Goggins and then think about how for example, if you're a realtor or any kind of salesperson saying, I'm not really getting business and I don't really know what I can do, push past that, push past your limitations. If this guy can walk on ice with broken feet, like, you can go ahead and start knocking on doors or thinking of better styles of communication, certainly.
Yeah, so I think the first thing we have to establish is the baseline that there's plenty of business out there for you guys, right? That's the number one thing, is like there's plenty of business. So we're not even going to entertain the conversation that there's no business out there, right? That's the baseline that we're going to start this conversation, is there are opportunities out there, right? So we have that out of the way. So now that we know there's opportunities out there and there's business out there to be had, let's talk about how you go after it.
Now, I know I do things a little unorthodox, but to me, I feel very strongly about lead generation for one thing. And I kind of mentioned this to you off air. I can give you all the leads in the world if you're a realtor, but if you have no idea what to do with them, it means nothing. I want you to focus on getting initially less leads, but really hone how to deal with these leads from beginning to end. If you know how to carry through your leads, then let the leads pour in. But if you can't handle one lead, what's 1,000 leads going to do for you, And for me, David, it begins and ends everything with communication, period. Don't care what you look like. Don't care how you dress. Don't care how you groom. Don't care anything of it. If you know how to communicate properly, timely manner, and how to follow up with people and how to work your lead, I think you're already well ahead of the game of 80-90% of the realtors out there, because people don't communicate. I mean, even something along the lines of, I saw you had a listing. I'd like more information, please. It boggles my mind how many realtors don't even follow up on, if somebody's handing you a cold lead here, maybe you're going to double end a deal. Maybe it's a new buyer. Maybe they're working with a realtor, whatever. Why would you not respond to that? I mean, isn't this what you're doing for a living? Like, if that's all I'm doing, if that's my primary business and I live and die by my commissions, any possible lead comes, I am on it immediately, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the key word, is immediately. If you guys see a lead come through or an information request come through, answer it right away. Because if you don't, the probability of you getting to it an hour later, 2 hours later, 4 hours later, diminish, right? As time passes and life passes, we're on to the next thing. We're on to the next topic. And you forget to go back to that client. And then 2 days later, when you remember, oh, I got a lead 2 days ago, by then that lead has moved on. They've either found a realtor or they even bought the house that they want to buy. And guess what? It wasn't through you because you didn't respond to them in a timely manner. So I completely agree. I think responding to leads immediately significantly will increase your conversion.
Let's say somebody finds a posting or somebody's name, and let's say they go on Sudden Summit's website and they found this one realtor, and they reach out and they said, Realtor X, saw this property, found out about you. Would you have time to come and give me more information or show me the property? If that person doesn't respond back within a timely manner, I would tell you within the hour, they're on Sudden Summit's website and they're going to go to the next person. They're going to look, they're going to scroll. I like this name. I like this person's look. There's so many reasons, right or wrong, superficial, natural, of why people pick people, but they're going to do that. And I've had a realtor that came to me and said, somebody in my office sold a $5 million property, and I could have been the one selling them that property. I could have acted for the buyer, but I reached out to them 2 hours later. The 2 hours later, they had already booked an appointment with this other person to go see it in my office. And that would have been their, money for the year almost. And it's gone simply because they couldn't be bothered to reach their phone.
Crazy.
Yep.
Crazy.
And so let's say we agree then that from a lead generation point of view, that timely communication makes a big difference. From there, for me, David, it's what image are you portraying to the world? People say it's not right, and people shouldn't care if I have a beard or no beard, if I have a haircut, if I have a nice dress, if I have a nice purse, nice pair of shoes, suit, whatever it is, what car I drive. None of that stuff should matter. But I've heard from so many realtors that, buyers, sellers are much more sophisticated than they've ever been. Even if you get referred from a close friend, an associate, somebody who's had business with you, very often you're still going into a presentation and you're competing against other people. You have to bid for your services and explain why they should use you versus, let's say, two other people. In many cases, you're up against usually 3 names, and very often they'll meet with them either virtually or in person. You're getting judged whether you like it or not. From the second you pull up into the driveway, they look at what car you drive, they look at what you're wearing, they look at how you're groomed, how you smell, how you present yourself, what you say, what research you did, what materials you bring. You got to think about all these things. At the end of the day, you get one shot, one kick at the can to convince this person to work with you. You were lucky enough to get your foot in the door as a lead. But if you come in there sloppily, you're done. I remember somebody going into a builder presentation where a builder was interviewing 3 realtors saying, I'm looking at building a bunch of townhomes. And what's going to happen is I need somebody to help me buy the land. Then we're going to build, and then somebody's going to have to sell the project for me. One person comes in there like disheveled, like, looks like they just got out of bed. The clothes look like they pulled it out of the hamper, and they brought no materials whatsoever. Where the next 2 people came in suits or dresses, had their presentation folders. Guess who didn't get the client? Number 1.
Of course. Absolutely. And listen, that has a lot to do with the brand, right? The image, and how comfortable the other side feels in your services, right? That's really important. You got to dress the part, look the part, and that will tie into the energy you bring into the room, right?
I get quizzed all the time as a lawyer. How do you not wear a suit all the time? Are you sending off a bad image? And I tell them, well, I know who my demographic is and who my clients are. And the majority in the millennial generation or a little older than that, if I come in a 2-3-piece suit, they're going to say he's too expensive. He should be on Bay Street. I can't work with this person. I need somebody a little more down to earth. When the guy walks in with a t-shirt of himself flexing, they're going to say, that guy's different. I think I like him. And that works for me as a marketing point. I've been practicing law for 20 years. And I'm at the point that I have the experience and knowledge, but I know what relatability attracts my client base. I'm also not pulling up in my car to people's homes and knocking on doors as a realtor. If I had to knock on people's doors and homes, it would change my mind a little bit of how I would approach it. And that's where I think for any salesperson, and don't kid yourself, as long as you are working with clients and attracting business, you are in sales. Don't even think otherwise. If you don't, then you're not practicing properly. Even as lawyers, I sit with younger lawyers and I tell them, you think you're in law and you think your job is to close files, close deals, you're in the customer service business, you're in the marketing business, and you're in the sales business. Your job is to attract clients, keep clients, and make them happy. So I think among lead generation, the first and foremost is don't ever take your eye off the prize, and don't think as a realtor, my job is to buy and sell houses. No, your job is client service, period.
Yeah, 100%. And that's really important, right? We are in the service industry, and people have to remember that. But, when it comes to what you're wearing, being able to relate with clients is also very, very important. And if they can't relate with you, if you have a certain dress style, and clients can't relate with you, then you're probably not going to do business with them. And that's okay, right? You can't do business with everybody. You can't relate with everybody. And sometimes to niche down is really important. So when you're wearing your chosen lawyer t-shirt and you're flexing, the people who are going to respect and be able to relate to what you're wearing are the people you want to do business with. The people who are going to look at your shirt and say, oh, you know what, that's Jonathan's being full of himself, I don't want to do business with them. That's great. You don't want to do business with those people because you're not going to be aligned on your values, on your goals, and that business experience is not going to be smooth for either side.
But sometimes I chameleon it a little bit, but I don't sell myself out. So for example, let's say I have to do a client meeting, and we're meeting in a giant boardroom downtown Toronto, or they have a home on the bridle path and they have a $10 million home and they're inviting me into their home. I'm going to wear a suit jacket, probably with jeans or slacks. I'm always going to wear my Jordan 1s because that's me, but I'll probably wear the more bland pair, not the flashy pair, for example. I'll think about those type of items where I'm still keeping my style, but I'm also keeping the respect of where they're at. We also, David, have such an advantage today in how we market and get our clients versus 20 years ago. If I'm a realtor and I get a prospect, I'm looking under LinkedIn immediately. I'm going on social media. I'm looking at the type of posts, what they're into. If I see, for example, that they are a lefty NDP, I will not bring up the PC. If they're a PC, I will not bring up the NDP. I'll see maybe there's certain causes that they support, or organizations that they support, or topics of interest that they're talking about. I will make sure that I will bring it up. I say, hey, I noticed on Instagram that you were posting about electronic vehicles. Did you recently purchase one by any chance? And then we start talking about that. Point of commonality. So get to know your client. And you have all this access to their information. Why wouldn't you use it? You're not stalking them, but you're doing due diligence. The same way, guess what? They're doing the same thing on you. So if I'm a realtor, I'm probably not blasting all sorts of organizations and people and talking about my political views and being very controversial because I may offend people. I can't tell you, David, how many realtors don't realize how much business they've lost because of controversial BS that they have put on social media. This is not the time or place for it. If you're going to do that, do it private at the very least, and make sure who can watch that, because the public is going on. They're doing their due diligence on you. Guaranteed, all professionals, when they get hired, they're looking on LinkedIn first, probably Instagram, maybe Facebook, and they're checking out, is this the kind of person I want to work with? And when they're reading through certain posts, they're saying, wait a minute, that doesn't align with my views at all. This person is a hack. You've lost the room. You have the opportunity to market to people. Think about that every time you're going to post on social media, what kind of pictures you're putting up, what kind of image you want to portray. If you want to be in a string bikini, or you want to be in a little Speedo and all oiled up, and that's what you want to show your prospective clients, go ahead. But that may be the kind of clients you're attracting.
Yeah, 1000%. Jonathan, this time of year, what I love and what I encourage all my realtors to do is attend holiday parties, right? There's so many holiday parties. Companies have holiday parties. Other coworkers have holiday parties. People are always looking for companionship and to take people to these holiday parties. So, if you're struggling to network, if you're struggling to generate leads, attend these events. Go out there. Talk to people. Don't talk to them about real estate. Talk to them about anything but real estate. But always find a way to get the conversation back in indirect ways, and have your business card ready, right? And make sure you add as many people as you can into your CRM. So find a way to get their contact information and find a way to share value added information with them. So say something like, hey, you know what, I'm working on this really cool email campaign because I've noticed that, over the holidays is actually the best time to buy investment properties. Would you be interested if I added you if any great investment properties came and I did an email blast? Sure, add my name to the list. There you go. Your database just grew with one potential person that might be a future client.
And I love that. And if you don't have events or you don't have enough connections, you're going on social media, you're seeing people that and don't be afraid. And LinkedIn's a really good one. People I don't think understand the power of LinkedIn, but when there's business networking and opportunities, you can see a friend of yours or a connection has an event coming up, and you can say, hey, can I tag along? Or can I buy a ticket? Check these things out, and you'll meet other professionals there. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone to an event, met one person, and that one person transpired into so much business, and they introduced me to other people that transpired into so much business. Those are called your golden goose, your golden geese. That's what you want. One phone number is enough. And where I will challenge from there, David, is when I was a young lawyer starting off, I always said to myself in my mind, I want to have in my calendar at least one networking lunch, coffee, dinner, breakfast, whatever. I need to meet with somebody face to face once a week. And if I don't have anybody new, I'm going to go into my Rolodex, somebody I haven't seen for a while, maybe somebody I went to school with, somebody's a professional. Even if they're not going to give me business, I need them to know my name, because if they may feel bad that they already have a lawyer and they're not going to send me business. So when somebody else mentions that they need a lawyer, they'll send it over. Very often, the people that don't actually give me business directly are my best marketers, because they know me and they feel bad. So they send everybody else. That's even better. So face-to-faces, I know David Korman is a big proponent of it. It makes a big difference. If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. When they physically can touch you and you're there, they're saying, oh yeah, I should work with you. Oh, my sister's buying a house in a couple of months. Maybe I should connect you. Would you want to work with her? Yes, I would. That's that kind of logic.
Yeah, and real estate is a belly to belly business. It's a person to person business, right? So we got to get out there and we got to network and connect with people and touch people. I think Christmas is the absolute best time of the year to do that, right? The other thing I encourage all my realtors to do is get out there and take something small and drop it off for Christmas to your past clients. That's really, really important. Giving back is probably the most empowering way of connecting with other people. And, people will feel obligated to give something back in return. And the best thing they can give you back in return, if you've dropped off something small to them during Christmas, is a lead or a referral.
One point I had was about gifts in general. And it's very different as being a real estate lawyer versus a realtor. So for us, when we're doing high volume, but it's very low margins, we'd love to be given gifts, but on the same token, the fees are already low as they are. We're not family law lawyers, we're not personal injury lawyers, we're billing by the hour. If I was a realtor and I'm coming away with a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 check, I'm coming with a gift, and whether it's a gift certificate or what can I get for you for your house? Can I buy you a TV? Can I buy you a blender? Like what kind of stuff you need? Coming with that tangible gift. Okay, if you've got $20,000 in your pocket and you're giving something for 500, 1,000, goes a long way. They will remember that. And it definitely will trigger every time they're going to go use that gift, they're going to think of you.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be an expensive gift. I mean, but it has to be a thoughtful gift. So personalize it, maybe a welcome mat with their name, maybe a welcome mat with their family name on it. But, the more thought that you can put into that gift and the more personalize it to that family, to that person, to that client, the more it's going to be appreciated. And if it could be something that they can use every day, then every day that they use whatever you've gifted them will remind them of you. So I think that's really important. But going back to my idea of dropping something small for the holidays, it doesn't have to be expensive. It's the thought that counts. Never, I used to never go into the house. So I used to always say, hey, I'm just in the neighborhood. I have an appointment in 5 minutes around the corner, but hey, I just wanted to stop and just give you guys something for Christmas. Been thinking about you guys. Hope all is well. Right. And the amount of business I used to get just from that, right? Because if you think about it, you lose touch with people, right? Life happens, everybody gets really busy. So everybody wants to feel a little appreciation.
And I can tell you, even something small, like taking aside from gifts, is being on top of stuff. Like, for example, someone who works with me knows I'll close, hundreds, thousands of transactions in a year. I reach out and wish them a happy birthday, for example. Just a thought, wow, my lawyer said happy birthday to me. That means a lot. Now, I wish I can get to everybody, but between the different mediums, whether it's on social media or through email, text message, phone call, whatever, I try to do as many as I can, and people appreciate that it's that time investment of it and the caring part of it. And people really, really appreciate that. And the other thing is when you said on small gifts, again, if I'm a realtor, I'm thinking about this. I spent time with this person. I know what their likes are. I know what their interests are. Somebody who doesn't drink, I'm not going to buy them a bottle of alcohol. But if they went on and on about their favorite coffee, bring them a little thing of coffee. Believe it, it could cost you $5. It doesn't matter, Or they have a favorite supermarket and they like organic food. Bring them organic gift certificate for $25. Whatever it is, doesn't have to be big money, but it's that thought. It's the fact that you knew what they like and you thought of something that in their wheelhouse blows people's minds.
Yeah, when I used to trade in real estate, I used to have a get to know your client form.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite questions would be, how do you take your coffee? Right. So whenever I had an appointment with that client, I used to always go to Tim Hortons, spend $2 and bring them their favorite coffee. And I never had to ask them, how did they take their coffee? Because I knew, because of the get to know your client form. And people used to love it because I used to show up, hey, here's your 2 cream, 1 sugar, here's your whatever. And people really appreciate that stuff. So it's the small thing that makes a really big difference. But make no mistake about it, we are professionals. We're in the service industry, and we need to go the extra mile to, really make this a great experience for our clients.
So we're going to go about the extra mile. I'm going to ask you a controversial question then when it comes to marketing. Quasi-controversial, I would say, because everybody has a different mindset on it. And the question I have for you is spending money on marketing and how to go about it. Okay. And when I approach it and I approach anything, yes, it's really nice when you can do things yourself and you can save money. Absolutely. Problem is, most of us are good at what we do. We're not good at other things. And we try to do things that we're not very good at. It's going to take us a lot more time and a lot more energy, and we're not going to get as far. I tell people, look, if marketing is not your strong point, you don't know how to go knock on doors, you have no interest in doing that, you want bigger scale, there are people out there who can be hired that can handle every aspect of you, whether it's building your website, building out your social media, responding to those, hiring a personal assistant, and whatever it takes. I think that unfortunately for a lot of realtors and for salespeople in general, they don't think about the big picture. And I would draw it out on a global scale. Who am I? How do I reach people? How can I reach the people? What are the things that I have to do? And then start making a list of all the different functions and then figure out here are things I can do, or somebody else needs to set it up for me. And then I can be the one doing the emails, but at least, even something silly like creating your Instagram account. It's a big difference if you have zero experience creating a crappy looking Instagram homemade account versus a professional looking one. LinkedIn is the same way. I think the dollars are well spent for most people, saying it's the initial investment so you can create the framework and then you can handle the messaging yourself, fine. But remember, this is the outreach you have to people. And I find that a lot of realtors don't want to spend that money as far as websites, as far as social media goes, as far as in the videos they're producing for their clients, the photography. I know that there's a lot more expense, but when it's an A+ looking product, if I'm a potential person that's saying, okay, I've seen your work, realtor Y, and I've gone onto your website, I've gone onto your listings. The pictures look really hazy. The rooms look disheveled. I don't feel very good that you're going to be able to market my property really well versus, whoa, this property looks like $1 billion property. Imagine what they could do with my property. I think people kind of forget about that, but there is a time and money investment with that.
No, there absolutely is. And I think real estate is one of those businesses where people can get away with a lot, doing things by themselves. But there comes a time where you can't, right? And at a certain time, when you want to get to the next level and you want to scale your services, then you have to make that investment. And this is the key, which, we don't talk about enough, is you have to make that investment consistently, right? Because branding has a lot to do with consistency, right? And if you hire, for example, a video production company once to do a great video for you, okay, great. But now if you hire somebody else who's a lot less expensive, or you do it yourself the next time around, well, people are going to notice that inconsistency in the marketing or in the branding right away, right? So that's where I encourage people to be really mindful. So if you make that investment, commit to that investment and do it consistently.
I love that because it's something that I've mentioned a lot to professionals, saying your message may not even be the best message. You may be able to do actually a better marketing campaign overall. So what you're doing may not be the greatest thing, but if you're consistent at it, it will still work. Almost anything will work. It's almost like in dieting, if you go on the celery diet and you stay consistently eating celery, guess what? It will do something. It may not be the best, healthiest thing for you. Marketing is no different with it, but do it. I love that, doing it consistently, because if one day it's great and one day it's crappy, another day it's great, people are going to say, wait a minute, I don't know where they're standing with it. So everything is about, David, everything is about image at the end of the day. And right or wrong, fair or unfair, that's the way it is. I've been to enough award ceremonies at brokerages. And I challenge any realtor, go to, if you have friends that are realtors, go to their award ceremonies and look at the top producers, look at how they walk in, look at how they present themselves, look at how they talk. There's a different level between producer number 1 and 3 versus number 29 and 30. That's just the way it is, right or wrong. They have an air of confidence about them, usually not cocky, usually very presentable, well-spoken. There's a reason why they're doing well.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the OREA event over the last couple of days, and I had Goran from Remax. I think it's Care Realty, one of the biggest team broker owners out there, and right away, we had a video crew there, and we were sitting and interviewing him. Right away, I think 3 people walked up to me and said, "Who is that guy?" Right? But it's the aura, it's how you present yourself, it's the confidence that you exude, it's the clothes that you're wearing, and even in the industry, there's industry professionals who look up to him. So it makes a big difference, and people do take notice. They might not say it to him, but they certainly do take notice.
So I got to ask you the other side of it, because I've been at the end of disappointments where I see the marketing campaigns, I've seen the signage, I've seen the billboards, the bus billboards, whatever. And I meet the person in person and I'm like, who are you exactly? And they're like, oh, I'm so-and-so. And I'm like, yeah, 20 years later, maybe. And they're like, oh, I use the pictures from back then. I don't understand that. Like, to me, if you're presenting on your marketing something that you do not look like, it's called catfishing. And when the clients are going to meet you, they're going to be extremely disappointed that this is not who you are. So I would say, no matter what shape, size, form you are, embrace who you are, but market what you look like and who you are, because they're going to meet you in person. I think it's very important that your business cards, your ad campaigns look like who you are. So you're being true to yourself, and people will feel comfortable, like, wow, I know you. Yeah, I've seen you talk, I've seen your pictures, and you're exactly like your advertising is. Don't pretend to be something you're not.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And people tend to hang on to the past for whatever reason. They justify in their heads, and you don't have to. You can be yourself, and you can embrace yourself of who you are today. And look, if your clients have an issue with that, then it's probably not somebody you want to do business, and not somebody you want to align yourself anyways, right? If your clients want to do business with that picture from 20 years ago, then there's a misalignment there. So I think the first thing that needs to happen in those situations is those realtors and those professionals need to accept that fact. right? And if they do, they can move on. And I think good things are going to happen. They're going to see the light, and they're going to embrace the fact that, look, times change, things change, but this is me today, and you got to take me as I am.
Now, what do you think about the whole gimmicky marketing campaigns? Because there are people that have their shtick that works for them. Like this person's the magician. This person's got a basketball in their hands. One woman I saw in Markham, she has a picture. She always had her daughter. It was her and her daughter. So there was the baby as a daughter. Over the years, the daughter as the tween, and then as a young adult. And so every few years, she updates the pictures of her and her daughter, and people see and they kind of grow together with it. And I tend to find that the gimmicky stuff, if it's done tastefully, like the person with their dog, for example, I think people love people with dogs. I have a dog, and I never thought of it that way. But when I start putting pictures of me with my dog, that gets me the most amount of hits. People are like, wow, your dog's amazing. You must be a great lawyer because you're such a good person because you're good with your dog. It's that personal side. So that's where it's funny, because I'm saying, be careful about social media and putting controversial stuff. But on the same token, if you're putting on, I think, David, in my opinion, I am a realtor and I can sell your house for you, they'll tune you out. If you put personal stuff that like connects you, whether you're doing charity or family functions and you're comfortable with it, and people see the personal side like that, wow, this is a real person. They're a good family person, or, they're helping their community. People like to see those things. So I think sharing personal sides can be very advantageous as well.
Yeah, people want to be connected with, right? So if you have a dog and you're talking to a dog lover, that's how you can connect with them. I remember one of our realtors went on a listing appointment. This is a couple of years ago, and the guy at the listing appointment was a big motorcycle fan, right? And he told me, he's like, we spoke 5 minutes about the pricing strategy in real estate, and then 55 minutes of the 1 hour appointment we spent talking about bikes. And he's like, I ended up getting the listing, and it was the easiest sale and the most enjoyable sale I did in a really long time. And that's a great example of, being able to relate to the client, and, having a commonality, and being able to, really, really take advantage of that.
And in that line, we talked before about when you're meeting people, talk about everything but real estate, because you need that connection point. Having hobbies and interests is a great source of business. If you love playing tennis, golf, pickleball, if you like playing cards, and there's groups for that, mahjong, whatever it is, as far as, when you're going out there and you're connecting people with common hobbies, eventually they will remember what you do for a living. Because I like the idea, there's those business groups where everybody gets together, but the first person always is the realtor, then the mortgage broker. It seems like every one of those networking groups, maybe, some people are comfortable with it, great, but there's also hobbies to be had, and just going out to things. I can tell you, like going to my yoga studio and doing yoga as much as I do, I've gotten so much business because people know me as the yogi lawyer. Going boxing, and people at the boxing gym remembering, oh yeah, there's the lawyer guy. And you're connecting with people on any kind of level, but you're still connecting with people. Having that one-to-one, commonality is more effective than social media.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, let's go back for 1 second and talk about activities you can do that don't cost money, because I think as a realtor, there's quite a few of them, right? And, door knocking, for example, right? Such a negative connotation, but I think door knocking is very powerful, right? And if you think about it from a sales point of view, every business out there needs a salesperson. Without sales, there is no business. So the chances of you knocking on somebody's door and them being in the sales industry is actually quite high in one respect or another. And a salesperson is always going to respect another salesperson that puts in the hard work and the hustle and puts himself out there. And what better way than putting yourself out there when you're going and knocking on doors and you're getting belly to belly and you're interacting with homeowners.
But even a point of commonality there, I just thought of it, and I'm sure you do this already, but for example, let's say I was a starting off realtor and I have a house and I'm scared to death of going and knocking on doors, right? If I'm starting anywhere, I'm starting in my neighborhood. Why? Because I live there with you. And just be able to knock on doors saying, just to let you know, I live one street away. I've lived in this neighborhood for a while. I wanted to introduce myself because I love this neighborhood, wanted to get to know my neighbors. What do you do? And they say, oh, I happen to be a realtor, as well, but you're not coming there as a realtor. You're coming there as a neighbor and as a concerned, citizen. And you start to talk that way. And somebody told me once when they did that, I think they put like, slow down signs, and they're putting it all over their neighborhood and offering it to people. And they said, I got so much business from that because I didn't come to sell you something. I'm coming as a fellow neighbor of yours. And that's where, farming in your own community, people that live in condo buildings, David, when they know every single person in the building and they make it a point to always be in the gym because it's there anyways, or hanging out in the lobby or whatever they're doing. Eventually they get to know all the people in the building. People know, like, that's the realtor in this building. This person lives in the building. They eat, breathe, and sleep this building. They come to all the meetings. And I've seen realtors that were able to make a living just out of one condo building because they get every single listing because people know they're the one.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's so true. You got a network where you feel comfortable. I would caution people though, sometimes when you're networking in your own neighborhood, once you kind of make a decision and go down that path, then you always have to remember that you're always going to be a professional, right? So when you're walking the dog, when you're interacting with people, you always have to have your A game on. And sometimes in your own neighborhood, that's difficult to do because you never feel like you have any downtime, right? So I would really caution realtors to really think long and hard if they really want to cross that line in their own neighborhood. Sometimes it's easier to do that in not your own neighborhood. But again, people have done it and they've done it very successfully throughout the year, their years in their own neighborhood, except it does require you to always be on, right? And sometimes as realtors, like, look, our we're already working long hours and weekends and evenings. And if we have to be on, even when we're not working, it can get very, very difficult. But there's certainly many examples where it's been done and it's been done very effectively as well.
What's your take on putting ads in bus shelters, on buses, billboards? Those are big ticket items. Those are big expenses. Are you a fan of them? Do they work? What are your feelings?
So it's never the one touch approach, right? So you always have to have a multi-touch approach in order to really penetrate a certain market. So for example, if you want to farm a geographical neighborhood, this is how I would do it, okay? I would set up a geo-targeted Facebook ad. I would start a community Facebook group. I would door knock. I would place strategic bus shelter ads in that neighborhood, right? And now what you're doing is you're getting multiple touch points in the same neighborhood, right? So people are going to see my online presence because I'm doing a geo-targeted Facebook ad campaign and Instagram ad campaign. I'm going to tag them so that, even if they leave my website, they're still going to see my digital ads. They're going to see my bus shelter ads. I'm going to start a community Facebook groups where, I'm going to invite these people to the Facebook group, and I'm going to go knock on the door and introduce myself, right? So these people are going to see me in multiple different ways. And that's how you're going to win the most amount of business. So I think if you put up an ad by itself, it's not going to be as effective of if you do it in conjunction with other marketing media.
Love it, because me not being a realtor, I know how marketing from a law perspective, but it's very different when you're as a realtor and how far to reach and the kind of clients we're trying to get versus you. There's different facets to it. On that token, there's a couple other points I was thinking of well for a realtor, and that's as far as partnerships go. The first one I was going to ask you was, in general, if you're a new realtor starting off, joining a team, partnering up with a more experienced realtor, how do you find those go? Is that an advantageous route to go as a new realtor?
Well, I think learning is really important and education is really important. There's a cost and effect relationship, and you have to invest in yourself, right? So if you can get the mentorship, if you can get a good mentor and really be able to shadow them and learn from them and get taught the business, then maybe joining a team very early on in your career would be advantageous. Now, it is very expensive. You're giving up a significant portion of your commission, and there's pros and cons to joining a team. And in fact, I think David Korman and I did a podcast on this topic where we spent, about an hour talking about the pros and cons of both those things. But in certain circumstances, it could be a great idea.
And as well, on that token, is outside of the realtor, the brokerage realm, is other professionals that realtors can say, a really good idea for me to partner up with. So for example, mortgage brokers, financial planners, insurance. Are there other professionals out there they can say, hey, you know what, maybe I can build this relationship and it can be reciprocal? How do you feel about that?
I think realtors should be collaborating with everybody, with different business owners, with different entrepreneurs, and everybody should be supporting their mutual businesses, right? So even where realtors go and do business themselves, they should be going and building relationships. So for example, if you have a favorite bakery, go into that bakery and ask them if you can drop off a little flyer, right? And if somebody does business with that bakery, and that bakery refers your services to them, give a $500 gift certificate back to that bakery, right? So you're driving mutual businesses to each other.
Love that. So there's all sorts of opportunities out there. So there's also all sorts of opportunities out there. This, at the end of the day, you have to find it. What I think, if we're looking at this episode as a whole and the theme, it all comes back to, again, is communicating, being out there. You can't just sit on your hands at home hoping it's going to happen. You got to be proactive. There's so many avenues to do, but be doing something and try to do it consistently.
Yeah, even holiday parties. Like some of our realtors are doing like Santa picture events, right? So they're renting, a small little venue somewhere that has a Christmas tree. They're hiring a Santa Claus. They're sending an invitation. They're serving hot chocolate and marshmallows, and parents are coming with kids, and then they're doing Santa pictures. Like, so simple. Probably will cost them less than $1,000 from start to finish. But think about how much
Goodwill and image you
they're
can
going to get from
Yeah.
something like that. We could keep going for months, but and for hours talking about lead generation. But I think hustling and going out there and putting yourself out there and really working hard is absolutely key, especially in this market. But it's easier around Christmas time because people want to get together. People have more time around the holidays. Businesses are slowing down. People have more vacation. People are home, right? So you can access them, you can connect with them, and people are in a certain giving mood as well. So they want to be connecting and networking with other people as well.
And at the end of the day, you do not have to reinvent the wheel. But I would be saying, if I'm a realtor, I'm not going to ask for advice from a realtor that I don't think is very successful. Look to somebody that you strive to be towards, that has set the bar very high, that is in a different realm than you, and get to know them. And I think they'll be very happy to mentor and answer any questions, give you some ideas. And you don't have to reinvent this thing. You could talk to 3 different people and say, this person does this well and this person does that well, and try to hone and figure out your part and make it creative. But you don't have to start from complete scratch. Everything that can be done has basically been done. Just find what will work for you, but do something.
That's an excellent point. Go and take the realtor that you've always looked up to. You might have somebody on your social media and you're like, oh my God, they do an amazing job with their social media. Take them out for lunch. Who doesn't like a free lunch? Take them out for lunch and pick their brain and see what they do and how they generate leads and ask them questions, right? You should never eat lunch alone. And I love this concept that you said about, going out and making sure that once a week, at least you're taking somebody out for lunch. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a client. It could be another realtor that you look up to that you want to network with and do more business with.
Absolutely. It'll inspire you to greater heights.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys took some really good suggestions that we had, and I hope that the conversation today helped everybody kind of think outside the box and go out there and hustle and generate more leads and work at converting those leads as well, because you have to nurture those leads.
And we love the questions on David and David. And I always encourage people, please, on social media, send us your questions. If you have any questions on the episode or questions for David and the other David Korman when he's back. And these guys are very approachable. They love helping the industry. So send off, your question to them and they'd be happy to respond. You never know, your question may make the next episode.
Absolutely. Jonathan, thanks so much for filling in such big shoes. Always a pleasure having you on, and we'll see you next time.
It's a pleasure as well, David. Keep up the great work on David and David, episode 69, and looking forward. Number 100 is around the corner here very soon.
Around the corner.